Alright, how's it going? I'm Grant, you're you. This is Doodle Review today, coming through with some sound bites, short, sharp reviews for a bunch of recent albums with no messing about, rating either bad, mid, decent, great, next level. Let's get into it. So, first of supposedly 3 upcoming records from Kanye and Ty Dolla $ign. Wrestled with whether to mention this one at all. I think Kanye said some absolutely heinous shit and by extension led his followers into some seriously dangerous rhetoric which can, if it hasn't already, caused, real world consequences. I'm all for artistic expression. Artists can and have played with Nazi imagery in the past, whether it's Pink Floyd or the early 70s punk scene. The fact is, they did that to satirize and skewer institutions of power and criticize fascism. If you start playing with the imagery and spouting anti-Semitic bile, you kind of just are a Nazi. Do I believe Kanye really is? No, but by definition, if you're doing that shit, then you are. So there's that. Curiosity, though, gets the best of me, and I wanted to listen to the album. At the end of the day, even Charles Manson released music, and he actually committed crimes. The music isn't terrible either, but does that mean I don't think he's an evil man that deserves everything coming to him? No, of course not. So politics aside, what's this album like? Honestly, kind of wanted it to be horrendous based on all the things I just said, and it isn't. There's a few highlights on this thing for sure, whether it's Paid, Back to Me, Paperwork, Burn, Fuck Something. They're all decent. Trouble is twofold. They're surrounded by sappy, middling crap that the fanatics lap up because they have this parasocial relationship with Ye to the point they treat any slightly emotive song like it's their best mate coming to them in their time of need. Second thing is, even with the tracks I like, I just don't really feel good about it. So a handful of decent tracks and a weird gross feeling to come with it all, it just kind of ends up with a verdict of mid for me. Next up, Lee Scratch Perry, King Perry, the last album from the king of dub music, who sadly passed away a couple of years back in 2021. Now, I'm a complete novice when it comes to dub music, but I've always been fond of the sound. A final album from the master of the art felt like a nice way to kind of introduce some of it into my library, and there are some great tunes on this thing. The first track, £100 a Summer with Green Tea Peng, is a big tune and does exactly what it says on the tin. If you need a little jolt of sunshine during this seemingly wet and windy spring, definitely get this track on. The rest of the album, it's a little hit or miss. A track like Evil Generation sums it up pretty well. It's a cool vibe that just doesn't really go anywhere, with some absolutely random as hell noises and sounds. Lots of dub gets played actually at my parents', and the impression I've always had is some stuff does just sound like they recorded the track and then played it back through a warehouse with microphones just picking up whatever random shit is happening. Sometimes it sounds like people just moving furniture in the corner of the room while there's this deep bass groove. It's a vibe though. King of the Animals is a great tune with a rigid bass line, and Green Bananas featuring Shawn Ryder is pretty out there, but it's got a sick beat. And later on we even get to hear Tricky in the mix too, who is undoubtedly a great foil for Scratch. Definitely some forgettable stuff here, but some absolute gold in there too. This is decent. Rest in peace, Mr. Lee Scratch Perry. Office Dog are kind of an indie emo band out of New Zealand. The sound of their debut album Spiel, released in January of this year, captures a bit of Alex G, but also a bit of Anxious, Oso Oso, Daisy, Dogleg, Girlpool, even Boy Genius. Did I need to list all of those artists? No, but I just thought they all sounded quite good together. This is a very tense, very angsty guitar rock album that has this sort of depressive slacker rock vibe, but it always threatens to explode. The slightly frustrating thing for me is that it rarely ever does. It doesn't mean it doesn't sound good. Songs like Big Air are definitely infectious and enjoyable through repeating its progression, but you are left wanting a bit of kind of progression. This is the album definitely suited to when you're feeling a bit moody. It's decent, and I'm interested to hear what's next for these lads. Kelela released one of my favourite albums last year, and in February we were treated to an absolutely mammoth remix project featuring Shy Girl, Lorraine James and Yeji, among many others. This is literally an 80 minute 20 track monster, so naturally it has ebbs and flows, highs and lows, but among the mass of music are some really cool moments. What the record does well is pair remixes together who kind of clash in different tones. Sometimes it's two different approaches to the same song. Tehana's dancehall remix of Enough for Love is paired beautifully with Yeji's minimalist electronica take on the same tune, and it worked great. It's interesting how both artists knew not to mess with the central synth hook, which is a highlight from the original. I also love the techno of Tiger Paw's track, take on the track Raven, which gives me proper PS1 Wipeout vibes. This is a beast of an album, and not every track holds my attention as well as these highlights, but as an experience it's actually pretty great. Literally hot off the press, this album came out just this Friday, it's gone. It's the new one from Kacey Musgraves, Deeper Well. I've been a fan of Musgraves since her album Golden Hour, which is just a pretty delightful modern country pop fusion. I'm not really a country guy, but I am a pop guy, and sometimes these crossovers just hit. Musgraves has a sugar sweet voice, great sense of melody, and occasionally some quite like down to earth funny lyrics that feel a bit different to what I understand of contemporary country radio. Her last album, Starcross, to me was a bit It featured some production that felt like there was an attempt to kind of push her into an edgier alternative pop space without really committing to it, and so ended up in a kind of grey area that just didn't work for me. Deeper Well is returned to form. It's straight up country pop songwriting, mostly quite low key, but with plenty of hooky choruses like the title track Cardinal or Jade Green, which is one of my favourites. The album doesn't completely do away with the touches of like cutting edge production. They're just deployed in a much subtler fashion, which just means that you can kind of choose your own adventure in terms of whether or not you care to pay attention to it. My favourite is actually Lonely Millionaire, which does push the album into a kind of old school rhythm and blues type feel. It's the only example of it here, and it sounds great, and it makes me think that that's where Musgraves could go and push the envelope rather than try and mess with production tricks. The album's a little long, a couple of tracks that aren't really for me, like The Architect, Heaven Is and Sway, but overall it's pretty great. So Caroline Polachek last year released Desire, I Want to Turn Into You, and that was one of my favourite albums of the year, so I was definitely keen to check out this deluxe edition when it dropped a few weeks ago. It has 7 additional songs, which include a new version of Butterfly Net featuring Wise Blood, and an acoustic version of the track I Believe. I'm not normally a fan of deluxe editions from a point of view of just like, I like the original albums to be their own thing, and you know, just get your additional tracks out there on an EP or a single or whatever. But that dumb gripe aside, these tracks are really cool. Dan gives us a very tongue-in-cheek, icy cold pop track that is probably a little too hyper pop-esque to be on the original album, but it's great to hear it as its own thing. My absolute favourite is Spring Is Coming with a Strawberry in the Mouth, which, like Meanwhile and Coma, kind of don't necessarily feel like fully formed songs, but whatever they are just sounds brilliant. The chimes of Coma give me Radiohead Kid A vibes, and then these breakbeat beats come in, which is just such a throwback to 90s drum and bass. It's almost too much to bear, but in the best possible way. The cover of One of Trick's Point Never's Long Road Home is a really cool choice, and I really like how Polachek's unprocessed vocal complements the original version. Love this, it's quality, next level. And then lastly, I've got to give some love to the latest Little Simz release, the EP Drop 7. I mean, this is just proof that Simz is on another level when it comes to creativity. Mood Swings is a big tune, and I don't even really know what it even is. It has these scattering hi-hats that are phasing in and out with these big percussive hits. It's massive but also low-key at the same time. The EP is a proper kaleidoscope of sound. SOS is house. I Ain't Feeling It is kind of trappy. It's got a super cool beat where the backing melody has been EQ'd to a point where there's almost nothing left, which then complements these like massive bassy kicks underneath. Power hits us with a short, more traditional hip-hop track, and then we finish with Far Away, which is an absolutely fantastic piano-driven tune and a great way to close things. I would love a full album like this. It's something special. This one is also next level. Alright, let's knock it on the head though. That's it. That's my thoughts on these. Have you heard any of them? Let me know. What do you reckon? Hit me up in the comments. Check out other videos in the description. Subscribe, share some thoughts, show some love, or just hold some abuse in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, mate. Bye.